guys, welcome back to Strong Successful Male. So for today, I'm going to go over an email that was sent from a subscriber. This one guy sounds like he's in his very late 50s, and he shares his crazy story that happened between about 25, 35 years ago with his business partner. A business partner and friend who completely ruined their business and everything because of his addiction to SCX. In other words, an addiction to spicy clubs, ladies of the night, all that type of thing, and just to make the point of what it can do towards someone's business, life, friendship, marriage, the whole thing. And definitely will make you think twice about who you let into your life, whether it's friendships or business partners. And it's not a whole lot more that I can say. This is not like the most uplifting story, but it's just a train wreck story to show you what can go wrong if a guy allows these addictions to take place. But before I get into the story, guys, and believe me, it is entertaining. Again, remember, I've been saying all week, if you happen to be on X, formerly Twitter, come check me out. The handle is SSM Channels. Definitely growing over there is a good way to market the channels and let you guys know about new videos because you know who doesn't do that as much anymore, and I got to do what I got to do. So definitely come on over, and you'll see that it's growing, and we're all having a good time over there. He says, Dear SSM, I'm writing to tell you the story of a one-time friend, co-worker, and business partner. He was a great guy that let money and SCX completely ruin his life, and I was ringside observer to the whole thing. He certainly did, but he was not a great guy. This started in 1988 when I moved from the Midwest to the southern East Coast. I only knew one person in town where I landed, my oldest friend, who is now in a prestigious university earning a PhD in immunology with a postdoctorate in HIV research. Brilliant guy. Well, I began delivering pizzas for money. It covered the rent, but I wasn't going to get wealthy on it. One good thing was I learned the city and discovered places most locals didn't know existed. Well, a few months in, my friend introduced me to a cool guy. I'll call him Harlan. He was a year older than me, 6'2", fit, blonde hair, and kept in a flat top with blue eyes. And the women loved him. Harlan was married to a beautiful 5'2" redhead that was an exceptional woman and a great wife. That night we met, he called his boss and got me a job with him as a maintenance carpenter for the biggest slumlord in the state at that time. I have literally hundreds of stories about that day-to-day experience of working in the projects of the South, but since I know many of your mouth breathers that listen to your shows don't believe anything they hear, I won't waste time with them. He said, seriously, those guys need to get out and feel the grass and see the sun. It would help. Look, there's going to be doubting Thomas as always. Anyway, back to my friend Harlan. We worked together on the job for a little over 2 years. He left to start his own construction company and hired me a few months later. By the end of the year, we became fast friends and business partners. Well, what could go wrong? By the time the business imploded, we had 6 full-time employees and several we could call as needed. We had great relationships with our electrical and plumbing contractors. With us doing all the carpentry and concrete work, we were killing it. Notice he said before the business imploded, so wait till you see eventually what happens here. But they were kicking butt and taking names until. And wait till you see what caused the business collapsing. Throughout this time, I was rapidly introduced to the fact that Harlan had a strong S-word addiction. Here we go. It went way beyond PORN. Working in the projects, hookers were a common sight. Nobody in their right mind would have contact with any of these women as they hadn't showered in days, and you could clearly see the needle tracks on their arms and the disease on their face and skin. To say there were nothing feminine about them is a gross understatement. Many times I said to him, just go to our friend's lab and have him mix you an AIDS cocktail and be faster. He'd laugh and claim he was protected from ever catching a disease. Okay. That proved to be correct until it wasn't. More on to that later. Well, I want to point out this is probably like the late 80s, early 90s at this point, when really like AIDS and HIV was, as you recall, many of you guys about my age and up. So yeah, but he doesn't care. It's like playing roulette, Russian roulette. We often would be riding together to fix something at a slum property, and if he saw one time, he'd stop until he got whatever he wanted. It was truly sickening, and the smell is unforgivable. So you're on the way to a job, this is business, and he's going to stop and pull over to get with one of these hookers? Already, this is not a good business partner to have, or work for somebody like this. It's destined to fail. But you were young and didn't know any better. Also, where we lived, there were many massage parlors. If a day or two went by without him encountering a streetwalker, then he'd go for a massage. All those places he always offered to buy me a massage too, but I never accepted. I'd usually go in with him, sit on the couch in the lobby, talking with the other girls that weren't occupied at the time. Meanwhile, this scumbag is married and doing all this. And can you imagine what he gave her? The story was always the same. Single mom doing this to put herself through college. One or two of the dozens I met have been telling the truth, but I wouldn't bet on it. What I've described so far was the early years. Once we had our own business and money started coming in, things took a turn for the worse. Yeah, because he had all his money to throw around. We had moved into commercial construction, and the status was a major upgrade from working in the slums. I need to say here that Harlan was a sharp, funny guy and has forgotten more about construction than most people could learn. He really had it all going for him, which makes his narrative more depressing. He then discovered strip clubs, something we never experienced before. Then he figured out that after-hours business meetings tended to be more successful if he met the clients at an upscale club, paid for the drinks, and bought them a couple lap dances. Shortly after that, he began the habit of calling his wife, telling her he had another meeting, and to set out a specific outfit. Yeah, obviously, business deals are done in all sorts of places, and usually getting their clients laid, or girls, or whatever you want to call it. But this dude's a scumbag, and he's screwing up his life, and yours. Well, he'd run home, take a shower, get dressed, give her a quick kiss, and off to the clubs. Once at his club of choice, he'd scan the girls and find the one he liked. He'd ask her how much she was going to make that night, and whatever her answer was, usually around $800, he'd whip out a wad of cash, give her whatever the number was, and declare, "You're with me tonight." And there she'd sit, hanging all over him, except when it was her turn to dance. Smack! I should have smacked about 19 times already, but hey, I'm off today. All that money. And when is he going to start taking money out of the fucking petty cash at your construction business, or withdrawing from the bank accounts and all that? It's only a matter of time, and the jobs are being screwed up because they're having to pull over and go to a massage parlor. It didn't take long until as soon as he walked in the door of any strip club, several girls would call his name and come running. Nice ego stroke if you can afford it. Too bad it was all fake. Of course it was all fake. They knew they were going to make a ton of money off him. I recently got married to a teacher and was nervous that I'd be spotted at one of these clubs, so I was very careful to avoid the ladies. These aren't ladies. I never got a lap dance, and the only girls I tipped were the waitresses. He says, as a side note to the guys, now listen to this. He says, bros, those girls don't care about you at all. You stand in line to tuck a bill in their G-string, looking forward to the kiss in the cheek, and you'll get. Next time, watch the girls when you're still a couple guys from her. While she's kissing some random, her eyes are counting the guys in line and mentally calculating how much time is left on the song that she's dancing to. She doesn't notice you while she's kissing you, and she's forgotten you as soon as the money leaves your hand. They don't like you. They don't want you. They can't wait until you leave the establishment. Duh. But guys go there, oh, she likes me. She told me her real name. No, she doesn't like you, and no, she didn't tell you her real name. Now, occasionally, guys, I can hook up with strippers. I've known some guys that did that. I was never interested, thank God for that. But still, it's for the money. Or if they're going home with you, okay, this guy will take care of me. Well, it wasn't long before Harlan began having relationships with the strippers outside the clubs. Yeah, because they knew they could get money from him. Naturally, they consisted of him occasionally getting laid, but constantly shelling out money. Ding, ding, ding. They all had kids, even had a few husbands. He fell in love with all of them and suffered accordingly. That's on him, and smack to this dumb jackass for fucking up his life and cheating on his wife for all these. And he knew these strippers had husbands. And of course, they're cheating on their husbands. And of course, they have a bunch of kids. Poor kids. All the while, his loving wife kept his new suits clean and pressed so he could continue his life, and she was oblivious to. By now, I was so disgusted with how he was treating her, I told him that I would never rat him out, but if his wife ever asked me point blank, I would not lie for him. He wasn't fazed at all. Bro was living his best life, and nothing was going to pop that bubble. Yeah, well, guess what? Every bubble pops eventually. Well, we were in the final phase of a big job, and he started disappearing for days at a time. You can't run a business with someone like this. Back in the early 90s, cell phones were those 20-pound bricks in a leather bag. He had one, but it didn't so easily work for him to go no contact. Eventually, he'd show up and we'd get down to business and straighten out the schedule and such. Until the day a couple of our best subcontractors showed up because their checks had bounced. There you go. He's taking money out of your bank accounts to pay your people, your employee subcontractors, and he's on to strippers. Brother, why the hell are you staying a bit? It's time to dissolve your business and go off on your own. What? I didn't have the checkbook, but I went to the bank, shuffled money from our other accounts, and paid them. They were satisfied, understanding, till it started happening regularly. Of course it happened regularly. I got a hold of Harlan one Monday morning, and we met at Waffle House to have a come-to-Jesus meeting. His story was that he was in love with a stripper again. Smack, a moron. And had chosen to be in a monogamous relationship with her despite the fact that they were both married. He was head over heels for this one and was showering her with expensive gifts to try and win her away from her husband. Win over a stripper? What the fuck's the matter with him? This included taking her beater of a car to our mechanic and telling him to fix everything top to bottom. It cost him $12,000, which he could have bought a new car for at the time. $12,000 to fix a car, and this is obviously, I'm guessing, the probably early to mid-90s. Yeah, he could have bought a whole brand new car at the time. What the hell was she driving? One night he'd gone to the club she was dancing at and got mad when she took the guy to the back. Well, that's her job. He paced until she came back and made a scene telling him that she was his and she couldn't hook up with guys anymore. Where's the bouncers during this whole thing? I'm surprised not dragging him out and beating the shit out of him. Well, she grabbed another guy from the crowd and took him to the back, flipping Harlan off. You may have to edit this part out, but I'll put it in case you see how far it goes. Now, here's a raunchy part he put in. I'm going to read it anyway. She came back and told Harlan to follow her to the back. She told him that while she loved him, she could bang anyone she wanted for any reason, and he better never say a thing about it. Oh, I smell a shit test. Then she spread her legs to expose her freshly used hoo-ha and told if he ever wanted to see her again, he would eat her until she told him to stop, and he did it. Ugh, smack. We know what was going on in the hoo-ha, and look what he freaking did. And that moment, any respect she had for him is gone because now he's her little bitch. He says she ghosted him a week later. Oh, shocker. He was devastated. Heartbreak was too soft a term to describe how he felt. For a few days until the new batch of strippers rotated in. Then he was in love again. Here's a giant warning to you guys. You will get caught. Of course you're going to get caught. He was in love with two girls at this time. They were friends and traveled the circuit together. They did everything together. He bought them clothes, took them to fancy restaurants, and eventually took them on a scenic canoe trip to Canada. The trip involved canoeing up several mile-long lake. You got to the end, and there was a split in the land with a concession stand and bathrooms. Then you'd portage your canoe across the land to another lake. Rowed to the end of that, turn around, and repeat the cycle in reverse. They got back to the concession stand and were sitting at a picnic table eating burgers and making out with each other. He was filling the one girl up while kissing the other one with a familiar voice said, "Hello, Harlan." It was a family friend and deacon from the church his dad pastored. Uh-oh. Well, eventually you're going to get caught, and it's the deacon. He says you can't get more busted than that. Remember, guys, he's telling the story and things he experienced and things was told him. He also saying this is bullshit. Well, he vanished for about a month after that and called me one night, crying and saying he'd gotten right with God, but that his wife was divorcing him and he wasn't coming back to town for a long time. Well, good for his wife for divorcing him. And again, this is your business partner and your business is now done because of him. You should have ended the business relationship and terminated and gone your separate ways, and now look where you're at. He was the head of our business, and without him and with all the subcontractors jumping ship due to payment issues, and plus they didn't want the stink of his ruined reputation rubbing off on them, I was forced to sell or auction off everything. Trucks, tools, equipment, etc. Yeah, and the employees lost their jobs now. I was able to pay off all the debts in full, but was left with only $1,000 and no job. It wouldn't be the first time that happened to me, but that's life. What do you mean that isn't the first time that happened to you? So you have a habit of getting involved with people that are morons and letting it impact you? Come on, bro. What was your wife thinking about this? Your wife had to think that Harlan was a scumbag. Well, we're not done yet, guys. What happened after was we parted ways. He did get divorced. I was glad that his wife was finally free, and I didn't know how to feel about the fact that she divorced him based on this one time of getting caught cheating, but she had no idea the length and depth of his cheating. Who cares whether it's one time or 500 times? He's still a cheater. I have no problem with guys ending their marriages for a gal cheating 1 time or 10 times. It's no different than the girl. And by the way, what could he have given her? Has she had any STI tests, HIV tests? I struggled with telling her the rest, but I decided A, it wouldn't change what had already happened, and B, I'd promised if I never rat him out, and she never asked, so I let it go. Well, I ran into him 10 years later. Oh, how's he doing? He gained at least 100 pounds and has started drinking heavily. He was a mess. We were both happy to see each other, and we talked for about an hour. I wouldn't be happy to see that fucking guy. The guy's a fucking piece of shit, and your business imploded because of him. He decided that he hadn't wanted his wife for years and was more concerned about his reputation than his wife divorcing him. About a year into being single, he decided that while he didn't want her, he didn't want anybody else to have her either. What a selfish fuck. He says, by the way, somewhere in there he contracted herpes from one of his ladies, so much for being protective. I'm surprised he's walking. Well, he sweet-talked and manipulated his ex-wife into marrying him again and made sure she got his disease and promptly knocked her up. What a scumbag. But then again, she was stupid enough to get back with him. At the time I met him again, they'd been remarried for 7 years, and he didn't have anything to do with her or their daughter. He was content knowing that no guy would want an infected single mom. I guess he won. Well, she's a moron for getting back with him, but then again, he's a piece of shit. Let me tell you one of the many stories about how much of a Chad he was and how almost no woman can really be trusted. Early in our business, we got a contract to hang... He's now jumping around time. Early in our business, we got a contract to hang 6 ceiling fans plus a lot of handyman repairs in a small church. It was about a 5-day job. The pastor was a great guy and would stop by and chat now and again. His wife was the church secretary, and she was there every day, answering the phones and such. Harlan started flirting with her one day. I'll admit she was beautiful and wholesome. You don't flirt with a pastor's wife. Come on here. Or any wife for that matter. The day we finished and were cleaning up, he went to her office and directly propositioned her. She was rightfully and righteously offended and asked him to never speak to her again, reminding him that she is not only very married, but the wife of a pastor. This is a southern state after all, where that really meant something. We left. The next day we had to go that way and pass the church. He pulled in and got out. I went with him just thinking we were picking up our check. As soon as she saw him, she looked pissed off. He walked up to her and said, listen, I have a room at this hotel across from the mall. I'll be there from 5 to 8 tonight. Then he spread $500 in $10 bills across her desk. He says, I'll flip the lock to the door so it'll be open and you can walk right in. I expect to see you tonight. Yeah, you're all thinking, yeah, right. Well, she showed up. Put on the whole act, being offended and pissed off until an alpha male comes in her sight, even a scumbag alpha male, a Chad, and there you go. I haven't seen or heard from him since, but then our mutual friend has. He said that Harlan is still married, but barely roommates with his wife. Well, there's a freaking surprise. Anyway, my main point of this post really is not to trash the guy. He was a good friend and great mentor regarding construction things, awesome businessman, and all-around charming guy. Dude, are you freaking kidding me? He was not a great friend. He went out of business because of him. He ruined it. Great businessman. No, he ruined his business and threw away all his money to freaking strippers and hookers and all that. That doesn't sound like a very good businessman to me. He had the world at his fingertips, but his base urges got in the way and then took over his life and ruined it. Gentlemen, if you get anything out of this post, I hope that any of these things rings true to you. Go get help before it's too late. Also, if you're married, don't be a douche. Divorce her, and then go live your life. Holy crap, you want to talk about somebody with all this potential and opportunities and ruining everything here. No, he was not a great guy. I'd have nothing to do with the fucking guy. I wouldn't have anything to do with someone that behaved in that way, let alone ruin the business. Come on here. And then now he's out there and what he did to his wife, you know? I mean, yeah, if you're not happy, fine, divorce her, but don't cheat, let alone jeopardizing her life and getting back with her and then giving her the herpes and all that. But although she made that choice. So anyway, guys, I told you it was an effed up one here, and I just had to cover. He actually wrote it to me to put on the other channel, They Did What. It probably would have been more appropriate, but, you know, I got to throw a crazy one over here now and again. And by the way, if you like crazy stories, go to my channel and subscribe to They Did What or Hit the Bricks. You'll get plenty of that over there. So anyhow, guys, that's the point. Don't let things like that ruin your life. But yeah, people that have sex addictions, amongst many other things, can destroy such a good thing. And of course, a lesson of who you choose to involve in your life as your friends or go into business with can have a major effect. So, bro, you're a good guy, and I appreciate you sending your story. But no, this guy was not a good guy at all and wasn't that great of a businessman. I mean, yeah, he could do his job when he had to, but still, at the end of the day, he screwed the whole thing up. It's a disaster. But anyhow, gents, we can learn from this guy's mistakes. All right, guys, that's it for today. Be sure to comment down below. Let me know what you think about this. If you like the video, share it with your friends, and subscribe. I'll catch you next time.